and this week only. Is that
50% you're only off.
Is that like a marker for when he's post-production, the clapping?
Yeah, so he can sync the audio and the mic.
It makes it super convenient.
You remembered to clap. I mean, you didn't, but he did. So
yeah, well, he's done a good job. I'm proud of him.
I've heard you guys fighting about if he clapped or not a couple times.
I make fun of his clap.
Yeah, it was kind of a.
It's so funny because he kept complaining and saying that nobody clapped, and then he would like in the middle of the episodes. So I started clapping. He's like, "Dude, I forgot to clap," and he'd complain about it. Not like David complains or anything, right?
I don't complain.
If we clap like every 3 minutes, will it jack you up?
No. It doesn't mess it up.
You just go to the first clap.
Yeah, you just go to the first clap.
And so now he complains, and he's like, "You didn't clap." And I'm like, "I did clap." He's like, "No, you didn't." And so we'll record ourselves arguing on the show. And then he calls me like later in the week. He's like, "I always laugh because I'm like realized that you were right and I was wrong." And I mean, that happens more than you would like to admit.
You should start recording your private phone conversations just so you can splice those conversations.
Dude, that would be hilarious. We don't really talk on
certain
the phone.
sound bites.
I just send him text messages, and it really pisses him off.
He just voice the text.
No, you send 5-minute long voice to text.
No, it's a minute.
Oh my God, it's the worst.
It's just a minute. Just a minute.
You sent one that was like 90 seconds just the other day.
Well, I know, but
there should be a 30-second max on voice memos.
When I'm driving, I can't. I'm sorry, I can't text and drive at the same time.
Like I'll be in a meeting and I'll get out and I'll have like 14 missed voice memos.
Yeah,
they're just you monologuing while you're driving.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, isn't it? Not as bad as what David gets. I do things intentionally to piss David off. You know, hey, okay. I don't know if you know this. So yesterday, we went to Wild Florida in the morning, got up fairly early, and then at 9:30 we were still going, and we went to dinner with his family, and we're doing all this stuff, right?
We were working in between there. It was like business discussions, business meetings, serious work.
In case the IRS is ever listening to this episode during your audit.
No, that's nothing to do with it.
I see how it is. Are you seeing this?
He's drinking a $38 bottle of water.
Everybody else has been pouring it into a cup, and he's got
he's just like rubbing his lips all over it. It's weird.
It's pretty consistent. I'm just saying.
Typically, it's a bigger, though, right?
I prefer the female penis. It's 2024. Females can have penises.
I thought that was just I'm not diving into that.
I'm going to splice the ad right after I said that's 2024. Females can have penises. Buy Shop-Ware.
I am. Can you order one? Can a female order one on PartsTech?
Can they? I know you can order them. That became a viral thing. The you can buy fake bulges on like Amazon. But they started making them in kid sizes. Yes, see, that's the reaction a lot of people had. They're like, why is this a thing? Well, it's because, preteens and teens, the percentage that are, shifting around on their identity is huge. It's in way double digits. And so they're like, hey, we're making this available to the market.
You're saying more than 10% of preteens are having
it is like 25%. Are going.
Way.
Yes, it is. Look at the numbers. Look at the numbers.
Look at the source for those.
Where are you getting your numbers?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, the statistics are out there, dude.
Well, there's statistics for everything out there.
Doesn't mean they're
true.
accurate.
What do you think somebody's just coming up with this number?
Yes, I 100% think that somebody's coming up with that number to elicit the reaction that we just gave. There's no way that 10% of 12-year-olds don't know what sex they are.
It is. It's not just 12-year-olds. I think they're looking at 13 to 17-year-olds. This was from 2020. This is from 2022.
And what's the source?
New York Times.
How to lose all credibility in 2 words. It's New York, 1 word, 2 words.
Okay, maybe I'm mistaking. Maybe I'm over-exaggerating the number.
His wife said 3 times at dinner last night, David exaggerates a little bit.
I think it was
hyperbole is no stranger.
I think it was the increase of like
from previously
from
to
30
now.
years ago to now, the percentage
that I
increase
would
is
believe.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the story
I
is
think-
why more teens feel safe identifying as trans
Because it's
now
an instant
versus
friend set.
before.
It's an instant friend set because it's a cool card in certain schools and
Yeah,
communities.
I could see that.
Well, is it very much that it's the angsty teen that used to be emo or used to be like anti-culture, tried to be different, or now that's what the thing is I'm gonna,
There's probably some of that.
yeah.
I know it.
I think us as old guys trying to understand or imply we understand what children are dealing with today is probably folly.
We went through it ourselves, right?
I think it's magnified now.
No.
Yeah. We didn't have
How so?
this right here changes everything.
I think you say that, but the problem is that now you can find your community online. There was no finding your community. If you were in your school with your friend group, if you didn't have a friend group, just wait it out till you get out of high school and see what happens. That was it.
I'm not sure that finding a friend group that you never meet personally and you don't
know that. You could. I was in a town, I think it was like 4 square miles, okay? So it wasn't very much to just go to the next town, but you stayed in that town. You wouldn't go to it's 1.2 miles over and you're in the next town, and then another 3 miles over you're in another town, and if you go this way, another town. I mean, everything's just right on top of each other, right? Typical metro area.
Okay, where do you grow up?
Massachusetts.
Okay.
And so you didn't make friends in Wakefield. You didn't make friends in Stoneham. You stayed in your town. That was it. You stayed with your friends in your town, and if you had friends somewhere else, it was weird. You just didn't go see them.
I'm not saying that I don't care about the impacts of this on the future of our society or our children or whatnot, our country. However, I am just going to alert you both to the fact that if you want to find other things to worry about, you should build a 10-bay shop. And then you won't have time to worry about this.
It's cute how I tried to get us back on track. You like that?
There was a track. There's no track.
Yeah.
No, there's no track to that at all. I'm just sitting here thinking, like, where do these guys have the time to think about this stuff?
We have children around, like we have kids in school. Like I put my kids in public school or in private school because I didn't want them exposed to too many differing ideologies. You throw them in a public school, and depending on the area, I don't know where your kids are in, but depending on what area you're in, you throw them in a public school, and you're going to school with whoever's in that town, and maybe not even then, because sometimes they bring kids in from other areas. You have no idea who they're around. You have no idea what they're exposing themselves to. You have no idea what home life that person has, what they believe to be true. You have no idea. You're exposing kids to anything and everything. And I'm just telling you, it can weigh on you. Worrying about that, the 10-bay shop becomes irrelevant because your kids are more important.
I'm not disagreeing. Your kids are more.
Well, you don't have to worry about it.
Well, he's made a choice in the way that they're raising their kids that they've removed
that variable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to a certain degree as well. And just paying an arm and a leg for private school.
My wife is not given to like savage, sarcastic humor very often. And so one of the worst cuts she ever gave me is hilarious. When our oldest was getting old enough to go to school, where it was time to get him registered for school or whatnot, we were having this debate over public school, private school. I'm a subject of public school. She's a subject of private school. And she said, Mike, I love you, but when you go to work, people say, hey, Mike. And when I go to work, people say, excuse me, Dr. Allen. So
was that supposed to be a flex? Was she flexing on you?
And it's so out of character for her. She never makes jokes like that.
I like her more and more every single time she opens her mouth. She's legit, people. I don't know how you pulled that off. I really don't. I mean,
it was a moment of weakness for her. So it's lasting her a lifetime. 20 years later, she's like, fuck, what did I do?
That can't be true. That can't be true.
Well, it can't be true.
that she would regret it.
Nah,
No.
not at all. I'm
You're super successful. You give away free diag. It's a whole thing.
for life, baby.
Really?
He banned poor J.K. Walker because he was trying to make memes out of you. And he's like,
What? JK's not in the group anymore?
He kicked him out. He did.
Really?
He was ragey. I don't know. That's why I told J.K. I said, hey, he gets into like moods. Sorry.
That's kind of a dick move, dog. Like he was sharing the memes with me first, and we were laughing about them, and I was giving him input on like edits. I was like, no, make it more savage like this.
I'm not banning anybody over you, Michael.
Ban hammer.
No, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen.
Will you make me an admin so I can ban people?
Bet. Bet.
Yeah,
David's
that's a
gonna be
couple
like,
clicks.
David's
That's no
gonna be
problem.
like, don't make him an admin.
No, yeah, go for it. I'm good with that. I don't care. Less work for me.
Bet. Within hours.
So, but yeah, free diag for life.
You know, we're doing this panel at Ratchet and Wrench later. And your last comment makes
Because we're at the Ratchet and Wrench conference.
In beautiful Orlando, Florida.
They gave us a room, a boardroom to record in. I appreciate that.
This is a pretty bougie room.
Hey, we've been to shows that they don't even give us a room. They want us to pay for the room. And when we say, no, we're not paying for the room, they kick us out and they make us record in a hotel room.
Which show is that?
I'm not mentioning names. I'm just saying in general, things like that have happened.
Especially if it was like really close to where you live.
No, it was ASTA first.
Well, we gave you guys a room.
Eventually.
Yeah.
The very first time we
That's because
recorded in a hotel room.
You weren't
That was right.
you weren't big enough yet to justify a room. You know, you had to grow into it.
Yeah.
There's another guy who got a room that year.
Who got a room? What? Who? What? Somebody got a room that year?
We're not allowed to talk about competing businesses on the podcast, right?
No, this podcast you can say whatever the hell you want.
It was an attempt at a subtle reference.
Oh, I gotcha.
You got to hold your hand up, hit it, and run down.
Anyway,
Anyway,
So yeah, we're at Ratchet and Wrench.
and so we're doing this panel. And I originally had intended on sitting between you and Dutch. I don't think that's going to happen now.
I mean,
why?
I'm going to sit off to the side. I'm worried he might choke you.
it's gonna be fine.
You think so?
Dutch and I love each other.
I know you do.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised to hear that he agreed with you in some instances. I mean, that's
Whatever.
it's the chiclets.
All right, Boomhauer.
It's the chiclets. He gets in trouble with the chiclets sometimes.
I got up really early this morning. I've only had one caffeinated drink.
I asked you if you wanted another.
I know.
one.
I'm trying to cut back on the caffeine. Like too much caffeine is not good for you.
Lola wants to know if Ratchet and Wrench has a TikTok page.
Not that I'm aware.
What?
Lola wants to know if the conference itself has a TikTok page that she can tag. Evidently, she's making some content. Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
Is she dancing? She doing like? No.
How's it go again? One more time.
Hey, I am up on my. I'm not at all. I have no idea. I stay the hell off of TikTok.
Yeah. Is what it is.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an okay platform. It's just meh.
That's me.
It's meh.
It's like 70% women. You know
You
that,
say
right?
it's mid? Is that what the kids say? It's
meh.
mid.
Yeah, it's mid. The situation with
Yeah,
it
the
is,
ownership and the background data mining is sus.
hey, let me just tell you.
You gotta. Which generation are we talking about?
I don't know. I don't know any of them.
Because I think it's. They say like Skibbity toilet now, or it's Ohio.
Yeah, what is
That's
Ohio? I've heard that one.
It's trash. It's
Okay.
That's
awesome. I learned that Giat is butt, right? Like Giat, like nice ass. Yeah,
I didn't know that one.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with it. I'm not even trying to keep up with it.
Like if a dude who must work out, like in Dumb and Dumber, walks by, they go, look at the butt on that one. Like Giat, right? He must work out. Does not skip squat day.
I mean, That's not happened to any of us. So, I mean, how did you figure
The
this
squats
out?
don't target the glutes. I'm just telling you.
Shows you how much I know about working out.
I'm
I'm allergic to working out.
He
for the
ripped
quads.
another muscle the other day.
I did.
Which one?
Calf muscle. Popped it.
What do you do that for?
I wasn't trying to. It just happened. I made a mistake. I made a boo-boo.
Were you like at a gym working out?
Yeah. I was attempting to, and apparently my right calf muscle decided, nope, pop.
You know how to
Felt
keep
like.
that from happening, right?
But the problem is the alternative is I have a heart attack and die.
I don't know that
No,
this
no,
is changing
no.
anything.
It's not I'll have a heart attack. I'll crap myself, and then,
Oh, that's a bad one. That's
and
a
then
bad
I will still be alive, but unable to wipe my own ass.
Could you
That
imagine
does sound
David just like
pretty
laying
bad.
there, not being able to get any words out, just like laying there, all the bad things? Because I mean, like,
Oh, the thoughts will still
The
be in there.
rage.
That's the best part.
Just the
The
rage.
thoughts, the
The
thoughts will
impotent
still be in
rage.
there, but I'm not going to be able to get them out. So I'll just be like, "Arr."
I mean, like the number of complaints and insults he hurled between parking the car last night and walking into the restaurant,
Me? What are you talking about?
and he
When?
complained half the time through the meal.
Where'd
Right?
you go last night?
I didn't complain at all. What are you
Julio's.
talking about? I was super I was happy to eat. I was hungry.
Where'd you go?
What? Don Julio's or what was
Don Julio's, Uncle Julio's, something like that.
It's not super good. Well, how was it? The one in North Carolina is not super good.
it? No, it was okay. The service sucked, but the food was
Yeah,
okay.
the service was not great. The tortillas, they were mid. They were a little Ohio. Tortillas are not good.
No,
I'm sorry.
they were not.
You got to put some flavor in the tortillas.
Obviously,
There's
we're
no
going to-
flavor in the tortillas.
We're going to Charlie's one night. Should we do that tonight?
I'll see if I can get reservations. Sure.
You want to do Charlie's?
Sure.
Charlie's is good.
Okay, so what I was going to ask you is what happens when they don't buy anything? It just rolls. You're just taking that number, spreading it across all of the ROs and saying,
I'm taking that number and spreading it across all the ROs whether or not they buy. So it happens when they do buy. It happens when they don't buy. Technician gets paid, and we don't collect any revenue on that one.
so
and
you're
then take it on the road.
tracking the percentage of diags that leave with $0 tickets.
I mean, I could. I'm not tracking it, but I could if I wanted to.
Tracking it?
No. Why? I know my revenue. I know my ARO. I know my car count.
Well, I mean, ARO would reflect, right? Because how are you billing it? How do you bill the zero die? It's got 1 hour on it at $0 rate. So it would bring his ARO and his ELR down. What happened to your ELR?
It stayed the same because of the way that I changed my labor rate when I made the switch. It's like literally within $1. Right? I think it's up like 75 cents or something this year.
Okay. What happened to the ARO?
It's up.
My concern, it wouldn't be that. My concern would be the marketing. You're hitting a very specific area. What if, for whatever reason, the demographics in the area that you're hitting shifts, and you're coming in and you're seeing your ARO drop, and you're going, why is my ARO dropping?
Well, you need to have your
Same
you need to have your
staff,
thumb
same
on your marketing.
processes.
Yeah, you need to have your thumb on your marketing continually, right? So quarterly,
To a certain degree.
yeah,
but
quarterly. You need to be looking at your market penetration. You need to be looking at return rates per carrier routes and things like that. But I'm not marketing free diag in our mailers. I'm focusing on other things in our direct mail. The free diag is somebody calls in and says, hey, I got a check engine light on, and it's. Anytime you're experiencing a check engine light, it's important to have one of our ASE certified technicians inspect that for you, give you a complete written estimate at no charge. Is now a good time to bring it in. And so you're removing the.
and you don't tell them that includes the testing.
We're giving we're inspecting it, giving you a complete written estimate at no charge.
For the repair.
The test,
I say the exact same thing. Everything you just said, I say the exact same thing, except that I'm giving them a written estimate for required testing, and then we can discuss repairs.
So I'm giving them a written estimate for the repairs that they need. Now, if they come in and they've got a myriad of different problems on their 12-year-old 5 Series and different modules, and they need 8 hours of testing, they're going to get 1 hour of testing to write a full report on all the different things that we see and the different processes that we need to go through, and then they need to authorize the additional investment for testing beyond that. So I'm only giving away an hour.
But my thing is like I use that initial conversation, initial approval to qualify my clients. right? And so if I am
Qualify in what sense?
If they're not going to pay $190 for testing, yeah. Thank you.
If they're calling me, I've qualified them. The only reason why the qualification would be they don't want anything to do with the way we do things.
Well, and they figure that out. So it's just a cost of marketing, right?
But I mean, wouldn't it drive your review counts lower? Wouldn't it cause other negative? Like, doesn't it increase stress on the staff in that instance?
No. So an inbound call, first time caller, they haven't been into our building. They haven't met us. They haven't experienced our level of service yet. They don't know, like, and trust us. So invariably their shields are up. They just moved to town and they don't have anybody they can trust. The guy they've been going to for 10 years, they perceive that they just got screwed, or maybe they did just get screwed, and so their shields are up. The guy they've been going to for 10 years can't get him in until Thursday of next week, and they're going on a road trip. And so they're worried about cheating on their guy and getting screwed by some stranger, right? So their guard's up, right? Mm-hmm. And so they've called 3 places. The first one didn't answer the phone or put them on hold for 8 minutes or some shit, right? The second one said it's going to be $200 to get started, or $150 or whatever that number is. We were $196 when we made the transition. And they don't know that what we do is different than what AutoZone does, right? And a good service advisor can educate and inform and overcome that most of the time.
Most of the time. It just depends how busy they are.
And they will lose some potential long-term good customers by not overcoming that educational hurdle up front first. So, and then maybe they've called a couple other shops and they said, I can get you in next Thursday. Well, that's the problem they're dealing with. I can get you in 3 days. That's the problem. Yeah. So I'm removing the trust hurdle of they're charging me $200 to do what AutoZone does for free immediately. Mm-hmm. And I'm removing I can get you in next Wednesday immediately by saying, bring it in right now. I'm not saying I'm going to fix it right now, but I'll do my initial inspection and get them a report today.
Yeah. We say the same thing.
And then you control the time frame from there, right?
So the thing I notice about this, or the thing I think about it, is the fact that, in the 3 bays, I would have never even considered this, right? Because I was a boutique type shop. There was no way I could have done this.
If you're at facility capacity, max capacity, and you have no desire to grow, why would you give anything away?
Right.
If you're running at Redline, don't give shit away. Charge for every second of your time. If you're trying to grow your business, trying to grow your volume, trying to grow your facility, you need more cars.
Well, so that was my next thought is like I'm in 10 bays, and like right now we have cars out the yin yang, right? There's no way I could take another car. But in the same respect, if let's say I was slow, and there's been times I've been slow. I've just not had enough work. Like in the slower months, it was really slow a couple times. The problem was the phone was not ringing at all. There wasn't anybody to get in, right? So I don't know how much it would have helped me. But then let's say that I get to the point that I'm now busy again, and now the shop is full. Now I'm like, okay, do I go back on this? Do I start charging for the testing again now that I am at that capacity?
How many techs do you have?
I'm nowhere near what I can do right now. I've got 5 right now.
You've got facility capacity, but you don't have staff capacity. So you need to increase your staff capacity.
Right.
But there's no reason that you can't flex, right? Just like airlines have different pricing based on demand.
Yeah.
Amazon has different pricing based on demand, or whatever their pricing algorithm is. I don't see any reason why you can't flex.
I could see that. That would make sense.
If you're just slammed to the gills and somebody comes in and says, I have to have this tomorrow, and you just don't have the capacity, they say, I'll pay you $500 an hour if you can get this done by tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to call Miss Jones and say, hey, Miss Jones, I'm sorry. I'm going to give you a big discount. I need to push you back by a day. We had some stuff pop up. And then she's going to be okay because she's getting 30 or 40% off or whatever it is. And then homeboys are going to pay me $500 an hour to do the job. Great. It's demand-based pricing, right? It
just seems like a lot of moving pieces.
That's what I was going to say. It's a lot of work, and how do you keep up with it, and how do you train your advisor to keep up with it?
That scenario is not going to happen, right? But I'm talking about during the slow month of the year. I know that February and September are slow, so I need more cars. Well, okay, then market more to get more cars during the slow periods. And July and August, we're going to be slammed to the gills. All right, market less.
Yeah, save some of that money back.
Free diag is marketing.
Yeah.
And to be clear, this is not my idea. I learned this. A lot of this I learned from Todd Hayes and Auto Shop Answers. So they deserve credit for it. I don't want people to think that
this is a Mike Allen thing. Yeah. We all know you're not.
The giving away 1 hour for free just to overcome the hesitancy.
Yeah, just bring it in right now. I'm not going to charge you anything to inspect it. I'm going to give you a complete written estimate. And you're going to have that opportunity. Then you get to give them a tour of your shop. They get to meet your team. They get to see that you got a nice facility.
I don't do any of those things. I don't have a nice facility. It's okay.
You're also running kind of at capacity, right?
No.
David's idea of capacity is, do I have to go to work today? And if it is a no, David's in good shape. He doesn't care about any other capacity.
I want to pay the bills. That's it. I don't want to have to stress that, hey, I'm going to have to kick back this bill another week. That I don't like. But past
unless
that,
it's a tax bill. Unless it's a tax bill. You like kicking those back.
It stresses me out. I don't mean to. I pay all my tax bills eventually. So I just don't want to worry about it. So if the car count is there, I'm more relaxed, even though it does stress the shop. Like there's a lot of moving pieces and there's more work there to be done or whatever.
You quit doing the 300% rule too, right?
Correct.
And so you only estimate red?
We inform about everything, but I only spend time estimating the red stuff. And when we get to the point that we're informing about the yellow stuff, then if they want estimates, we'll go back and build estimates at that point. You got 110,000 miles on your struts, and none of them are leaking, but their performance is not like they were when they were new, and it probably would be beneficial to replace those. Am I going to build out a $3,500 strut estimate, roundhouse struts, and spend that 5 minutes or whatever, that few minutes sourcing parts and whatnot to build that estimate that has like an 8% close rate?
That sounds like a shop management system problem, because you can just go to past services and just click, and then you're done. But
it
that
takes
aside,
all of 5 seconds, right?
All of 5 seconds.
Assuming
that
you built that estimate before on that car with that trim level, right?
But even then, like 99% of struts, the repair's the same. So even then,
99%?
Yeah. Like
is this another one of those made up stats like you were talking about
earlier? That is slightly hyperbolic, but most of your front wheel drive cars, what are you going to do? It's rare, unless you're doing Euro's out the window. But 2.1 to 2.5 hours ish for quick struts. You just slap up the part number. Like it's not. It doesn't take that long. I will say that what your process eliminates is the overwhelm. Mm-hmm. Because if it's that situation, 110,000 miles, performance is at 60 to 75% of what it should be. They're not leaking. Okay. Maybe it's a Japanese car. Struts last, not a Toyota. But like on a Honda, you're going to get 150, 175,000 miles out of a set of struts before you start to really feel them. If you throw the struts on there, it's going to tack another $900 to $1,100 onto that ticket. And now that $2,000 job turns into $3,300 or $4,400. And they view their vehicle differently.
And on the whole, your closing rate on the red stuff will go down because they're overwhelmed by all the yellow stuff.
Yeah.
And I can see the logic in that. Yeah. I can definitely see the logic.
The problem is in being, what do you decide is red versus non-red? That has to get hyper specific because you're no longer estimating everything out.
Well, you have to try to adapt like map standards, right? Is a good place to start.
Map standards are overly specific,
but
on really weird stuff. And
here's a big key: is the customer has to know about everything before you start doing anything. Like they have to know about all the yellow stuff before you've pulled the first part off.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Is that my fear would be the liability aspect of it. Well, and there's been a few shops I can think of 2 that I've talked to in the past who have experienced something kind of similar to, hey, we gave them an estimate for what was broken on the car, and then the car was in an accident. Their insurance came back and said, you didn't tell them about this. And they said, well, no, we told them, one of them was a case where it wasn't written down, but they verbally told them. The other one, it was written down, but they did not have it.
If it's not written, it didn't happen.
Exactly. The other one was a case where it was written down, but they did not provide an estimate for the client to decline. Now, when Carolyn,
they just had a good lawyer.
Well, when Carolyn was at Shop-Ware, that was one of the things she pointed out was that in California, because of the approval process being so specific, like you had to get them to decline it. You couldn't, because I kept calling and getting approvals and declines. And so she said, no, you really shouldn't do that, because if you look at the way it's happening in California right now, if you do that, you'll end up getting sued by somebody who says,
so
no, they didn't tell me about that. Where's your doodle pad? I thought you were going to use your remarkable so you could upset David.
Can I get up and go get it? I mean, it is far superior to pen and paper.
That is a tech toy for someone who doesn't know what else to buy. Like, I want that dopamine hit. What am I going to do? Oh, this ad.
It was a gift.
From who? You?
No.
Did you buy it?
Wasn't it from Neil?
I don't know.
I don't know who that
Oh, that is like a slap in his face.
Neil had one, and he was showing me how he uses it, and that's what led me to purchase one.
I thought he gave you one.
No.
Oh, I was.
Do you want all of the inconvenience of having to handwrite something out, but none of the aesthetics and the feel of paper and pen? Yes, I do. I want the impersonality of computerized everything, but all of the.
So what you were saying, Lucas, is fear-based management is. I mean, you need to document it, but believing that you have to estimate everything to cover your ass, no.
I'm in the same boat, right? I typically recommend that I typically recommend that people estimate everything and then have them decline it, right? Like that's my recommendation because it's a foolproof way. Like if you do that, there's no chance, right?
But it just takes time.
It does.
And the higher your car count, the more time that requires. Right.
Well, I mean, that's what I keep telling people is the difference between the business that I used to run and the business I run now, right? Like a lot of people keep saying, I want to go from, 2 or 3 bays and I want this massive organization. I want this massive shop. I don't think a lot of people understand what goes with that. I mean, some do, right? Some of the MSOs and some of the bigger operators have a grasp on what it takes to do that. But it is a very different machine. It's a different animal than running a 3-bay shop.
I told you not to build that monstrosity.
No, I mean, I don't mind the shop. It's just, I'm just looking at you to see what you've got to say about it.
I think you're more stressed out now than you were with 3 bays.
Oh yeah, but there's a lot of other stuff happening.
Yeah, but before a lot of the other stuff started happening too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. For sure.
I think the desire to grow from like super busy, blown out, maxed out 3 bays where you were putting a ton of money to the bottom line. Mm-hmm. To go to the 10-bay shop, I think that was ego-driven.
Yeah. No, you're probably right. Mm. But also beyond ego-driven is there were some other things that I wanted to accomplish there. Some of them we'll talk about it. For one, right, there was a potential that for one day there could be a property dispute, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad,
where the building was,
my dad came to me and said, "Hey, listen, here's how I think we should handle this." Yeah. Right? And so that was one. Now, do I wish I had gone with 5 or 6 bays? I think that would have been more sustainable, and I think I could have had a nicer shop than what I have now and had a more manageable shop than what I have now and be a lot happier and a lot more comfortable.
6 bays would have been perfect.
Would have been ideal.
3 techs, 6 bays, 1 GS.
I had a business coach telling me go as big as you can, go as big as you can, go as big as you can, right? And so that played into it some.
Was it the business coach that you had at the time?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And so antithetical to most of his customers. Most of his clients are smaller shops.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think he's trying to build into bigger shops.
I think he wants bigger shops there. Yeah.
Copy. But I mean, and I think
he wanted you to be his poster child.
No, I think he genuinely was being thoughtful. I think in his head he saw the potential, and I think we'll grow into that potential, right?
Well, I think if you didn't have all the other stuff that you've got going on in your life and all the other things that you're involved in, if you were just there to run the shop every day, it'd be blown out just like the small shop was.
Now, here's the other thing, is that some of the numbers, right, because I used the potential calculations and I looked at some things. And one of the things that my dad said to me when we built that shop was, son, listen, the family business, when the economy turns down or you get into the slow winter months, slows down. And so I need you to be able to help offset that, because in some of the slower winter months, you're busier. And when the economy turns down, you're busier. So you can help if the family business needs help, so we can balance each other out, right? And so those were the two underlying things that were happening in there. Did the new shop add to the stress level? Yes, absolutely. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. A lot happened right after we built the shop, right? Like, one service advisor left. We knew we had an idea something was up and something had to change, right? Another service advisor left, which was my fault, completely burned them out, right? No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That was on me. And so navigating that and going through that all at the same time, right as my mom got super sick, and then my mom died, and then family business issues popped up within that. So like all that happened at once.
The problem is that kind of stuff always happens.
What?
There'll never be a perfect scenario. There'll never be a like everything is just running smooth.
Yeah, no, I mean the shop stuff, like the shop ebbing and flowing, and that's a really good point, because I think a lot of people look at their shop and it's like losing employees. Man, they're not there forever, right? And they say, "Oh no, I love my team. My team loves me. I want to find the forever team." No, that doesn't exist, right? You love your people and you want to take care of them, and you want to keep them as long as you can, but you need to have a little bit different perspective of it, because they're going to come and go. But
to a certain degree, sure, but you are stressful.
Yeah,
very demanding. You are.
Am I?
Yes, you are.
I would imagine that you probably have very high levels of expectations of your team, and you have very specific systems that you want them to follow.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's probably unlike almost every other shop they've ever worked at, right? So if they come in new and they just get dropped in the middle of this system that they've never seen, it can be
probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
And then you're there 5 days a month, maybe, right?
Yeah, he's there all the time. He's there quite. He works a lot more than I do at the shop. But I'm saying, it's not that you're like you're a big personality. I've told you this before. You're a big personality.
Yeah.
You tend to hire pleasers. They come in, they want to please, and they feed off of you and your energy, and all they do is they're not working the system. They're working to please you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that is a constant like, oh, what's he think about this? And they don't want to step out of bounds or push back or fight you on something, because they want to please you. That's it. And so that then becomes damn near impossible to scale, because it's not a system that you can just throw somebody in. Hey, just work that system.
Yeah.
You've got to set it up like the fry station. Go work the fry station. That's it.
That's why I've hired a manager, and I'm going to do my very best to like go as hands off as possible. Because
when did that manager start?
He starts in November.
Okay.
So I won't even be there when he starts. Be like, here you go. And I have some fears about that, right? He's coming from a very transactional type of world. He's
that's not a bad thing. I don't. You need to not worry about that. You know what you need to do is you need to let like a coach or someone deal with the manager.
I am.
And that coach be the intermediary between you and the manager.
Yeah, Cecil's going to coach him, and Rena's going to coach on the sales and management side too.
Yeah, that'd be the best way. That way he can go to the coach and not you, and the coach can kind of instruct, and then you can get the feedback from the coach going, hey, watch for this, or hey, he's doing this, or hey.
Does Cecil do one-on-one coaching with managers, or is it just because of the nature of y'all's relationship?
I think it's just because of the nature of our relationship.
I think he'd be in high demand for that.
Yeah, and they have a manager program too that he'll probably go into, right, is the game plan. And I think you're right, David. I think everything you just said is 100% accurate.
I am always right, unless it's statistics, apparently.
He's right 97.8% of the time.
But he's a really cool guy, and he's very, very much in line with like my belief systems. But now he's coming from a dealership that has $190 ARO. Right? They run 120 cars a day. Just as hard as they can go.
He's gonna be bored.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I know. But
maybe
when I've hired people in from high volume dealerships and they come in, they're like, because they can't just instantly start doing $1,000 AROs. It's just a totally different skill set they've got to learn.
Yeah.
And so for a while, the tickets they have their hands on, they're going to be $300 and $400 tickets.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, what do I do? I'm so bored. I've only done 8 tickets today.
Yeah.
Well, your 8 tickets tomorrow need to be $1,000 a piece, and you slow the hell down.
Right.
Build relationships and get to know them.
It's a really cool story. He went down a bad path, kind of similar to myself, and some things happened, and he's like, I'm going to go a different direction. He was kind of estranged from his father, and made a connection back with his dad, and then he said, you know what, I'm going to go work. I'm going to go work for corporate. He said I was going to become a police officer initially, and this opportunity presented itself. And he said I was a big video game guy, and he said so I really took to the corporate world of being able to manipulate a system and make it do what I wanted to do. And he said so it was a crazy video game idea that I took and implemented. And he said I worked for Lowe's corporate for a number of years, and he said it came down to, he said I was making my way up the organization. He said it came down to you're going to move. He said, I've got a family. I'm not moving.
Is that when they moved headquarters away from Wilkesboro?
Yeah. And he said, I'm not moving. I'm not doing that. And so he went to work for a car dealership, went in sales first, and went through a little stint in sales and didn't really like sales, and then moved into service and went from an advisor into an assistant service manager. And his current employer is a listener of the show and just an absolute killer human being, right? Like really cool guy. And has saved our butt at the dealer that he works at a couple times by like just being legit.
So how does he feel about the fact that you're hiring away one of his dogs? Due to a personal friend's snafu with hiring somebody from a friend, I decided that I had to say something. Right. It's a delicate conversation.
Yeah. And so I was really torn up about it. I was like, I really want to hire this guy, but I also want to alert my friend to the fact that he's thinking about moving. And I said, I don't know what to do, but I feel like I need to call him and tell him. And so I sent him a message, and he calls me, and I said, hey, I had already asked him, I said, hey, I really kind of feel like I need to say something, or I need to talk to him before we go too far. And he said, I'll definitely talk to him. Don't worry about that. I'll talk to him. And I said, okay. And so I put it on the back burner, and I wasn't going to call and say this person's name to him. I was just going to call and say, hey, I know you've got a key staff member that's thinking about moving, and they've interviewed, and I'm thinking about hiring them. I just want you to know. And so I called, and he said, yeah. He said, so he's thinking about coming to work for you. And I said, yeah. And I kind of hinted at who it was, but not like said his name or anything. He said, well, yeah, he told me. He's like, I told him that would be a great career move for him. He's like, that would be a really cool opportunity. He said, if I wasn't where I was, he said, I'd love to come work for you, you know. It's like, I've been listening to the show, and I really believe in what you're doing. And a few minutes later, he called me back, and he said, I just want you to know that you passed the test. And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, I wasn't going to come work for you if you didn't call him and tell him, because he's like, I wanted to make sure that you were like an honest and ethical guy. He said, so he's like, I wanted to know, like, were you going to call him and tell him the truth about it? And I said, well, yeah, I kind of felt bad. He's like, so I thought it was pretty cool.
There's definitely some, I'm a very aggressive recruiter, and there's definitely some delicate places, and I've put my foot in the shit a couple times over the years. So, yeah.
A couple times. I can think of 2. One was shared mighty publicly all over the internet a couple weeks ago. What? He deleted the post.
Yeah, he did.
When he realized he was in the wrong.
I wasn't involved in it. What happened?
No, the poster deleted the post.
That's what I'm saying. But did
we
he realize
had
it was
coffee the following week and like hung out? But
Was the guy calling you out for you?
He
for
calls out
jacking
the
one of his
president
employees?
of ASTA on a public forum.
So one of my technicians, so there's question about this, and it comes down to me failing to. I was wrong. Let's start with that. It comes down to me failing to get all the details and insisting on total details from one of my team members. And I'm guessing that when this guy, my guy, moved from out of state to North Carolina, when he came to work for me, he also submitted a resume and interviewed at this other guy. And he ended up coming to work for us. And I guess the other guy has a funnel for touching people that he wants to hire again every few months, right? And just staying top of mind, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that. That's smart.
That's great.
Yeah, that's what everybody teaches.
And my employee was unhappy with a couple of things that were going on. And so he went and interviewed again because the other employer reached out and was like, hey, knock, knock, just come have a conversation if, they're not rubbing your feet enough or whatever it is, right? And gave him a really competitive job offer. And my guy came back to me and was like, hey man, I got this job offer. I hate this. It happens to me all the time where I get somebody a really big pay raise to stay where they are. Right. Yeah. And so that's what happened. I was like, you can't leave. I'm sorry. The only way you leave out here is in a box. Right. So I gave him a big ass pay raise to stay because he's a valuable guy. Right. He's a good human being. He's good with his coworkers. He's good at what he does. And so I was kind of salty that this dude, to me, it was the version that I had was, hey, this shop has reached out to me. A recruiter called me and I went and interviewed with him. And I was like, he's a member of the association and he's trying to poach my bros.
Right.
I was kind of salty about that. And I was like, you know what? F it. I'm going to call up there and I'm going to recruit one of his bros. Difference is that I called and I was like, hey man, I hear you're a total badass. And I think you should come work for me. Let's talk. And he was like, great, let's talk. Let me get your phone number. And then he turned around and went to his boss and was like, hey, this guy just called me
at the shop.
Yeah, to try to recruit me. So good on him, one, that his employee has no interest in leaving, right? And is loyal to the business he's at. So that's good for him, right? The guy was like, hey, I think you should all know that the president of ASTA is out here recruiting employees of other ASTA members.
Which at the time you didn't know the part where this employee had already interviewed with him and everything else.
So first place that I was wrong is I should have just called the dude and be like, hey man, I don't appreciate you recruiting my guys. Let's go get coffee and talk, and I shouldn't have lashed out, right? And then so when he posted it online, I was like, hey bro, you want the screen? I got the screenshots. Do you want the screenshots of you recruiting my guy or the copies of the offer letters? And he didn't back down and I didn't back down. And I was like, wait a minute, we're getting in a public pissing match here. This is probably not a good look. And so I sent him a direct message and I was like, hey man, if you recruited my guy, then I stand by my actions that you were wrong. And maybe I was wrong in recruiting your guy too, but two wrongs don't make a right. But, if my guy applied to your job, well, then I was 100% in the wrong, and I will give you a public apology. And he said, we talked back and forth, and then we ended up getting coffee. And he was like, I don't want a public apology, dude. And he deleted the post after I DM'd him.
Yeah.
And it was getting all the Michael Jackson eating popcorn memes, all the dumpster fire memes, and everything else. But
and that's why you're the perfect president for ASTA, because you're like a no frills, no bullshit kind of dude, right? Like you're not the conventional 80-year-old president of an association that's like, I'm doing this for legacy.
How's it go? One more time. How's that
go? One day you will be, I promise. But
dare to dream.
Yeah, exactly. So. Now the other situation is the sting of that one worn off to where we
hold
can
on,
talk
hold on.
about it.
I gotta ask you, what drove you to do the tit for tat thing?
Oh, hey, whoa, no.
Immaturity
let me tell you, it's because he has an older brother that like picks on him nonstop. And from the time he was very little, his older brother was much supreme to him. And so he's always just like looking to go one notch above.
Yeah, but don't you have like somebody you can go, hey, this just happened. I think thinking about
me.
doing
And I'm
this.
like, you know what I would do? I'd recruit the dude.
So I talked.
That's what you told him to do?
So I did. I talked to like 10 or 15 people about it.
Nobody stopped you and said, hey, you should probably let that go.
I got like half of the people were mature adults and they were like, nah, bro, just
call them up if it's bothering you and have a conversation.
And the other half were like, hey, go full nuclear. And so I listened to, this is like you get the angel and the devil on your shoulders. I listened to the devil and
this is really concerning to me that it was half of the people that he talked to we're telling him to go full nuclear. That
Nuclear.
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 No, it's not. It's nuclear.
Most of them were extra accounts that I had just seen if I could get him to do it. Okay.
I don't believe
with all
that.
my time.
Did you really tell him? Did he really tell you to? Yeah.
I did. You are one of the people that I talked to about it. I don't remember what advice you gave me.
I told him I did not give him a direction. I said, hey, I can see this side and I can see this side. I probably would just leave it alone and go on about my way. That's what I said.
That sounds right. That sounds like you.
Yeah.
That is the most politician answer ever.
That's why it sounds like him.
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody said, hey, it's wrong. Like, it's very wrong. They had to at least convince you, hey, this is wrong. You shouldn't do that.
Nobody said it was wrong. They said the mature high road thing to do is what you should do.
The mature thing or the right and wrong thing?
What ended up happening was, in a moment of weakness, I was salty and I chose to be petty, and it was a mistake.
You should call these people out. Who was telling you to go sleep with his wife and punch the disabled son in the head? He's got a son in a handicap chair. You should go punch him in the back of the head. He's not going to be able to chase you.
This Dutch.
At the thing today, that's what you need to do. Like, why would you tell him to go sleep with his wife? Why would you tell him to do that? That's terrible.
The other one though,
One of my guys just texted me and asked if we could use the company account to buy pizza for everybody today.
oh, telling me yes, absolute pizza party.
100. Well, I mean,
Only one topping though.
they're the store that he's calling. only Little
That is
Caesars.
the biggest dick move ever. It's like, yes, but only one topping.
See if they have any specials first.
Just Little Caesars lunch specials only.
Bet.
That's how my staff knows
Such
we had a
gross
bad
pizza.
week the week before. It's like, hey, what are we doing for lunch this week? Pizza. Oh, yeah, I guess it was a bad week last week. Yeah, sorry.
That's all we can afford.
That's all we can afford this week.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about the other
Talking
situation.
about me doing stupid shit and
Yeah.
being a poor reflection of what the president of the association should be.
the other situation where there was like massive hurt feelings. Should we just drop it and not even talk about it?
Well, so in that one, that was hurt. I would say that I did not do wrong in that one, but it still caused hurt feelings. But yes, that is water under the bridge, and we have a good working relationship now.
Yeah, we'll just leave that be then.
That's fine.
We just won't touch it.
It was also 3 years ago. So
Yeah, and that was a bit of a funky situation because
The timing just was bad.
I really think what was funny about it is like
we're about to break down this whole fucking thing.
I don't know what he's talking about.
Mike went
good.
hard.
Nobody listened.
Mike went
knows
hardcore
what he's
after
talking
an
about.
employee.
Okay.
And hires this employee. There were hurt feelings involved with their previous employer. The employee turned out to be a complete shitbag. And had he called the employer, dude would have been like, yo, don't do that.
No. We're obviously thinking about something totally different then, because the employee had been coming after me for years.
Yeah. Oh, I mean,
I
maybe
wouldn't take him. And then he was like, "Look, I'm leaving no matter what.
Right.
I am not staying where I am. So if I'm leaving, I might as well come work for you." And I was like, "All right,
Yeah.
yeah." And then the place that he left was really unhappy with me about it. And then it turns out, and they were like, "He's like one of our best people."
Oh, right.
And the dude made it less than 3 months with us. He was not good. And so I was
Oh
like,
man. And the other shop thought he was great and wonderful. Oh man.
So I've talked about you setting really high standards. I probably ruin a lot of good employees by having unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. I know I do for sure. And that exact same person I had talked to about an employee that had applied for a position. And they were very blunt, right? Like, hey, might be okay for this, but would not be a good for what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
Really honest about it, and I really appreciated that. And I think our little group of friends and little group of associations and whatnot in the state learned a lot from that scenario, right? I think I handle things differently because of your experience.
Well, every time I get scarred, I make different new stupid mistakes instead of the same old stupid mistake. So
Yeah, for sure. I'm reading a book right now. Well, I'm listening to it. This is the only time I ever have time to do anything is when I'm driving. But it's the Talent Code. Have you ever read that? It's really cool because they talk about like how the brain works and neurology works. And so,
how long have you been listening to this? I think at the last conference you were like, "Yeah, I'm listening."
No, that was a different book.
It's like 7 minutes at a time. Have you seen how fast he drives?
Yeah,
yeah, that's true. Anyway,
oh man, never mind. I really will incriminate myself when we were leaving yesterday. That little car will run, dude.
I think it's a piece of crap.
Yeah,
it's
it
an
is.
Audi. Anyway, how the brain works? What?
So he talks about myelin and how we teach ourselves, and he was talking about deep practice and how like musicians practice and what it does differently in the way the brain learns. I think maybe you need to participate in some deep practice or deep learning next time you make some of these decisions, Mike.
What are you talking about? He learns from them and he doesn't make the same mistake twice.
Make exciting, new, stupid mistakes.
This one seems
And
like
then
to
have
be
to
a
deal with them and
multi-repeat.
apologize publicly.
Yeah.
No, these are very different ways that I put my foot in your shit. One was the right foot, one was the left foot.
Yeah, the scenarios are different. Definitely different. You know, you get to a certain size and prominence in your area, like people are going to come to you, and the rinky-dink shop down the street has one location. They're going to have employees that look at 3 shops, 2.
I have found myself in a little bit different situation.
You get people coming to you because of your online persona.
Well, and I've got people who get really upset when I don't like hire them. And like it really hurts feelings. And I'm not trying to be mean. And like right now, I'm not hiring anybody aside from this manager, right? But I'm like, I'm not trying to be mean to you. I'm just saying,
If
like,
the manager
right
works
now,
out, you need to stop hiring. The manager needs to start hiring.
yeah, for sure. I don't disagree.
Yeah, completely.
I don't disagree. I can't believe you just opened a water after everybody else is being polite and pouring it into cups, and you just like take liberty with the whole
I'm
bottle.
impressed. This thing is glass.
Yeah. Well, that's
So it
why
doesn't
they charge
have any of
$30
the-
for it.
It doesn't have the BPAs and the
Microplastics.
microplastics. Yeah,
Just don't ask for
those
it in room
microplastics
service.
get trapped in your balls, dude. It's terrible. Then your balls shrivel. It's the thing.
I was
Look
saying,
it
is
up.
that why they keep getting bigger and hanging lower, or is that just a?
No, they shrivel. They go the other way.
I need more microplastics.
Apparently.
Right.
My enormous testicles.
That's a condition, dear. You should go get that checked out.
Next conference, Mike's gonna be walking around like Randy from South Park
With the wheelbarrow.
I'm going to need you to cut that bite out. That's just not. It's unbecoming.
going to KFC.
We're gonna. What are we? Minute 57. They're not listening. It's the last 5 minutes. They never listen to the last minute because we say some foul things in the last 5 minutes of every single podcast,
And nobody's ever
nobody's
pointed it
ever
out.
called us out on it. Yeah,
Do you have a fixed time that you want each episode to be?
1 hour.
1 hour.
hour-ish. Yeah, depends how the conversation's going. Because sometimes, like 52
Like pulling
minutes in,
teeth.
you're like, yeah.
Like
we need to cut
on
that
a
short.
scale on a scale of 1 to 6.9. How would you say this one's going?
1 point. No, this will be good.
Yeah, this is in the 6.95 range. I mean, somewhere up there.
Perfect.
No, this is fine. What's wrong with it?
I didn't say there was anything wrong with it.
Anytime we mention
just trying to get
swollen testicles, it's a good podcast.
You're the only swollen testicle anybody in this room knows.
When's the last time someone soiled themselves live on your podcast?
Soiled themselves?
3 years ago?
What?
Didn't it happen at ASTA?
Somebody soiled themselves?
The year that y'all were in the hotel room?
No. This was the only time that's happened was remote.
Oh, okay.
And David,
We're not allowed to talk about this. Is this embarrassing? Talk about this.
We're not going to say
I
names.
had pushed this into the back of my mind to the far, far deep recesses.
You know
I don't know why.
You see this reflection up here? You could see everything on David's face. It was interesting, right?
Kids, don't drink. It's terrible for you. It makes you do stupid things, including expose yourself on the internet. Don't do it. Don't do it. Did you see Shannon Sharp? He decided to go live on IG.
I saw the headline.
Clapping cheeks.
Just to prove that he wasn't gay.
Well, that's the rumor. That's the rumor. He looks a little zesty. He's an enormous man, but he's walking around with his little teeny tiny dog, super tight shirt, nips all hanging out. He looks a little zesty. That's all.
I got little dogs. I like my little dogs, man.
You don't walk around with little bow and like this, specifically like this. Do you?
No.
Okay. That's what I'm saying.
Little dogs are badass, man. Most loyal creatures ever.
Or you could be like Drake. Snake all hanging out and stuff.
What?
On IG?
I don't know. Yeah.
These people go on IG Live. Or Paul Pierce.
You know,
had strippers at his party. He got fired from ESPN right afterwards because he had like strippers hanging out and dancing in the background. And decided to go live on IG, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on?" Completely drunk, of course. Strippers hanging out in the background.
Boomers use IG these days. Did you know that?
Hey,
I
asked Pollock and Kokonis this the other day. I said, every generation has decried the lack of whatever of the younger kids these days while they're shouting at clouds and telling you to get off their lawn, right? Is this the first time that there has been almost an equal level of vitriol thrown back up at the old people? Because, I mean, we go at boomers just as hard as kids these days, right?
I think this is a very interesting topic because in all reality, right, it's never stopped. It has been generation after generation after generation. Kids these days, kids these days, kids these days. I guess I reference myself in it because if I look back at 16-year-old me, if I look back at 18-year-old me, even 21, 23, 24-year-old me, I would probably say that sitting here right now myself.
I didn't think back at old people and be like, they're the reason that this country is so fucked up, and they failed us as parents. And
that's because this is the first generation that they actually ruined the country. They've made things so bad. They continue. They don't go away. They keep making it worse. They stick around. That's the problem.
There's a documentary.
It's because they live longer because of modern medicine.
That's possible.
Maybe.
There's a documentary on parenting, and it shows like these infants from the time they're born and how different cultures raise their children, right? And it's they talk a little bit, but for the most part, it's just watching the kids, right? And I'll never forget. There's this one, and it's this like 6 or 8 month old baby, and I want to say they're in Ireland or something like that. And the baby's just like walking or crawling around underneath the cows. And the cows are like trying not to step on it and like just out doing its thing. And they walk them through life. And they were talking about that they see much, much more sustainable human beings, much more self-sufficient and ability to handle challenges out of the children that are left to their own devices. And there's a video, I've looked for it before on YouTube, and I can't find it.
We're 2 generations deep of nobody gets told to go play outside and come back at dark.
Right. Exactly. Well, and I mean, like I remember when I was a kid, I used to like walk to Tweetsy. I'd go to Tweetsy at 9 or 10 years old, 7 years old, 6 years old, and walk in, show them my pass, and go on and spend the entire day over there. Right. I was never supervised. I was 5 years old. My dad found me on top of like a 62-foot scaffolding bug. Right. Just like dangling off of it, whatever. And so, I mean, I'm sure some kids died from that.
Well, but that's why the ones that survived are a little more self-sufficient, right?
Well, the video that I'm...
Just don't want it to be your kid, okay?
Yeah,
there's
for
a lot of sketchy people out there with vans, and I don't want them pulling up and grabbing my kid. Like, grab the ugly kid from down the street. Don't grab my kid.
Do you think that there's more sketchy people in vans now than there used to be, or do you think we just hear about it more now?
I think we hear about it more now.
I think there's always been sociopaths.
No, I think it's more prevalent now. I think it's more prevalent.
Well, I mean, there's population more of that now because
I think our society, has gotten far more twisted. Look, just look at how often you could leave. There's still communities like this. You could leave your car unlocked. Keys in the ignition, you jump out, you walk in, go grab your stuff, come back out, car's still there. Okay? That was much more common 30, 40, 50 years ago. That is unheard of in
you just reminded me of a crazy story. So, have you ever heard of the Durham family murders? You ever heard of that?
No.
So it happened in our town. And there were all kinds of, they're writing a book about it. They say they've solved it, but there were all these claims that it was the mob and all this stuff that killed this guy. He owned a car dealership. It was 76, I think. My dad knew them, right? And they were very prominent, well-to-do people. And long story short, this man from from a mob or a mafia called the Dixie Mafia has taken blame for killing them. But like they were assassinated, right? Like in a very gruesome, very aggressive way. The night that happened, my mom had walked out behind their house on Chestnut Street, had opened the door, and she thought she saw like a cigarette ember glowing in the night. And it scared her, so she went back in. She locked the door. The next day, she went out, and somebody had tried to take their car. Somebody had tried to start their car. And they lived just down the street from where all that happened. But they ended up taking the dude owned a Chevrolet Buick dealership in town. They ended up taking his car, but they're doing a documentary on it because they say that it doesn't make sense the way that they were murdered. And it was like the whole family was murdered, and they were tied up and they draped their necks over the bathtubs, and it was
slaughtering them like hogs.
Yeah, it was pretty rowdy.
Anyway,
So that
those
really
were
relevant to our
isolated
conversation.
incidents in the 70s. Now they just shoot each other.
I think you just get more population, and the more population you get, the higher
as a percentage.
Yeah, it's a percentage of what's there.
So there's just a pure number. There's just more deviants than there were back then.
I like my friend Mike Allen, but I don't know that I like him enough to spend more than an hour and 10 minutes looking at him on that screen behind you.
There you go.
Oh my god,
Those are awful.
I think that was Lucas saying.